The one habit that separates millionaires from everyone else. If you look closely at the lives of the most successful people in the world, you'll notice something surprising. It isn't intelligence. It isn't luck. It isn't who their parents were, where they grew up, or what school they attended. In fact, it isn't even about how talented or gifted they were compared to everyone else. The truth is far simpler, far quieter, and far more powerful than most people ever realize. The one habit that separates millionaires from everyone else is a habit almost nobody practices consistently. And yet, it is the foundation on which every major success story in the world is built. That habit is the discipline of doing the work even when you don't feel like it. Not motivation. Not inspiration. Not excitement. But the simple, unglamorous, often uncomfortable discipline of showing up every single day, long after the mood that started the journey has faded away. Millionaires understand something the average person never learns: your feelings are the least reliable guide for your future. Your emotions change hourly. They shift with the weather, with your sleep, with your stress, with your environment, and even with the people you interact with. If your future depends on how you feel today, you will never achieve anything extraordinary. Because extraordinary goals demand days, weeks, and sometimes years where you feel tired, bored, discouraged, uncertain, or unmotivated. Millionaires don't rely on feelings. They rely on systems. They rely on habits. They rely on discipline. And most importantly, they rely on consistency without emotion. Think about it this way: the average person runs their life like a smartphone with 2 batteries left. Every decision drains them. Every challenge overwhelms them. Every setback becomes a disaster. Because they are constantly relying on emotional energy. But millionaires have learned the secret to building a power bank mentality. They don't depend on their feelings. They depend on their standards. They don't ask, "Do I feel like doing this?" They ask, "Is this who I am? Is this what I do?" That subtle shift from emotions to identity is the difference between a temporary burst of success and a lifetime of achievement. Imagine 2 people starting the same goal, let's say building a business, learning a skill, or improving their health. In the beginning, both are excited. Both are motivated. And for a few days, both are unstoppable. But eventually, life happens. Stress shows up. Obstacles appear. Distractions creep in. One person stops because they no longer feel motivated. The other person keeps going because feelings were never part of the agreement to begin with. The millionaire's mindset is built on non-negotiable action. It doesn't matter if they're tired. It doesn't matter if they're busy. It doesn't matter if they feel discouraged. It doesn't matter if they're not in the mood. They show up because showing up is the habit that defines their future. People often say, "But I need motivation. I need to feel inspired." But that is the mindset that leads to average results. If you only work when you feel good, you'll never get far. If you only build when life is easy, you'll never build anything great. The world rewards the people who do the uncomfortable work that others avoid. This is why so many people fail without ever realizing the real reason. They think they lack time, but what they really lack is consistency. They think they lack resources, but what they really lack is discipline. They think they need more motivation, but what they really need is commitment. Millionaires commit to the process without needing emotional permission. Every successful entrepreneur, athlete, investor, or leader understands this. Success is not a highlight reel. It's not the glamorous lifestyle most people picture. It's waking up early when nobody else is watching. It's practicing the same skill over and over again until you master it. It's studying when your friends are out having fun. It's building when others are resting. It's choosing long-term rewards over short-term comfort. It's saying yes to your future and no to your excuses. There's something else millionaires understand: success is not a giant leap. It's not one big moment. It's not one lucky break. It's a series of tiny, almost invisible decisions made consistently over a long period of time. It's the boring stuff most people refuse to do. And here's the truth most people never want to face: the difference between who you are and who you want to be is hidden in your daily habits. Not your dreams. Not your intentions. Not your desires. But your habits. Your dreams inspire you. Your habits transform you. Your intentions excite you. Your habits shape you. Your desires push you forward. Your habits determine who you become. Millionaires don't rise to the level of their goals, they fall to the level of their habits. And that is why they prioritize the one habit that guarantees growth, the habit of consistent action, independent of emotion. If you want to change your future, you must stop negotiating with your feelings. You must stop waiting for the perfect moment. You must stop believing that motivation is the fuel that will get you there. Motivation is the spark, but discipline is the engine. Millionaires don't chase motivation, they create momentum. And momentum comes from doing the work, especially on the days when you don't feel like it. This single habit, this identity-level commitment to disciplined action, will separate you from 99% of the world. When you look deeper into the lives of those who became millionaires, you'll notice a pattern that repeats itself like a heartbeat. They weren't the smartest in the room. They weren't the most talented. Many of them didn't start with wealth, connections, or advantages. In fact, a shocking number started with nothing. Some started below nothing, born into chaos, raised in struggle, surrounded by obstacles. And yet, these individuals rose above millions of others to achieve what most people only dream about. Why? Because they mastered this one habit so deeply that it became part of their identity. They didn't practice it occasionally. They lived it. They breathed it. It became the invisible force behind every decision they made. Consistency without emotion. Action without excuses. Discipline without negotiation. This habit is what turns flawed, ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. And here's something people almost never understand: discipline is not about being strong all the time. Discipline is not about never feeling tired, or never feeling stressed, or never feeling overwhelmed. Millionaires feel all these things. They feel doubt. They feel fear. They feel frustration. They feel the weight of uncertainty just like everyone else. But here's what makes them different: they act anyway. They know that action relieves anxiety. They know that small steps dissolve fear. They know that doing the work, even imperfectly, is better than waiting for the perfect moment that never arrives. The average person waits. Millionaires act. The average person doubts. Millionaires decide. The average person hesitates. Millionaires execute. And with every day they show up, they strengthen the habit that moves them further and further ahead of everyone else. You don't become a millionaire by accident. You don't build a life of freedom by hoping. You don't unlock your potential by waiting until you feel good. You get there by developing the emotional maturity to keep the promises you made to yourself long after the excitement has faded. Every time you do something you didn't feel like doing, you train your brain. You teach yourself that your future matters more than your mood. You build trust with yourself. And trust is the foundation of real confidence. People talk about confidence like it's some magical feeling that appears out of nowhere. But millionaires know the truth: confidence is the result of keeping your word to yourself. Every time you follow through on your commitments, your self-belief grows. Every time you show up despite discomfort, your identity strengthens. And eventually, something incredible happens. You stop being someone who struggles with discipline. You become someone for whom discipline is natural. It becomes your default setting. This is why millionaires look so driven. They aren't fighting themselves anymore. They're not debating whether to work, whether to study, whether to build, whether to improve. They've built the habit so deeply that action has become automatic. But most people never reach this level. They get trapped in a cycle of starting and stopping. Motivated one week, lost the next. Inspired in the morning, exhausted by the evening. Pumped up after a motivational video, discouraged after the first setback. Why? Because they haven't built the habit of taking action without relying on the unstable feelings that come and go. Millionaires understand that success is emotional neutrality in action. It is doing the work whether you're tired or energized. Whether you're excited or bored. Whether life is smooth or chaotic. They see discipline as a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. And the less you use it, the faster it weakens. So they train it daily, the same way an athlete trains their body. Every day becomes a repetition. Every repetition becomes a habit. Every habit becomes identity. And identity creates destiny. When people see a successful person at the top living freely, making money, traveling, succeeding, they only see the results. They don't see the years of showing up when no one was clapping. They don't see the nights spent working instead of sleeping. They don't see the sacrifices. They don't see the painful self-discipline. They don't see the internal battles won quietly, without applause, without reward. But millionaires remember. They remember the days when nobody believed in them. They remember the moments when quitting seemed easier. They remember the temptations they had to turn away from. They remember every decision that required discipline when laziness felt more comfortable. All the world sees is the result. But they know the truth: success was built in the dark. And here's the truth that separates those who win from those who remain stuck: most people quit long before results show up. They plant the seed, but they don't water it long enough. They work for a few weeks, maybe a few months, but they stop right before the breakthrough. Why? Because they rely on motivation. And motivation dies long before success arrives. Discipline is what bridges the gap between where you are now and where you want to be. It carries you through the slow seasons. It carries you through the frustrating phases. It carries you through the times when everything feels pointless and you wonder if your effort will ever pay off. Millionaires understand that success is not built on hype. It's built on habits. It's built on boring things done consistently over time. And behind every great success story is the same pattern: someone who kept going when others stopped. Someone who stayed committed when others gave up. Someone who acted when others hesitated. Someone who prioritized the future over feelings. You don't need to be born special. You don't need to have advantages. You don't need perfect timing. You just need to master one habit: the discipline to show up, especially on the days when you don't feel like it. That's the habit that rewrites your entire life. There is a moment in everyone's life when the path ahead splits in two directions. One path is familiar, comfortable, predictable. It requires no effort, no growth, no discipline. It's the path where you keep doing what you've always done. The other path is uncomfortable, uncertain, and demanding. It requires you to show up relentlessly, even when your mind tells you not to, even when your body feels tired, even when the world feels heavy. Millionaires choose the second path, not because it's easy, but because it's the only path that leads to transformation. This habit of disciplined, emotionless consistency reshapes your beliefs. It reshapes your identity. And eventually, it reshapes your reality. Most people don't realize how much their future depends on the decisions they make when no one is watching. They think success comes from major events, the big wins, the big opportunities, the big breakthroughs. But in truth, success grows in the invisible moments. It grows in the early mornings when the world is asleep. It grows in the late nights when the excuses get louder. It grows in the quiet hours when no praise, no applause, no reward exists. Millionaires understand that success is not built on rare moments, it is built on daily discipline. It is built on small, almost insignificant decisions repeated thousands of times. When you choose discipline over emotion once, you feel stronger for a moment. But when you choose it every day, you become unstoppable. Here's the part most people never understand: the habit that separates millionaires does not feel good at first. In fact, it feels uncomfortable, frustrating, and sometimes even painful. But that's the point. Growth rarely feels good in the moment. Muscles grow by tearing. Minds grow by stretching. Lives grow by breaking old patterns that no longer serve you. Most people avoid discomfort. Millionaires lean into it. Not because they enjoy it, but because they know that discomfort is the gateway between your current life and your future life. Every time you face discomfort and act anyway, you step closer to the version of yourself that is capable of building wealth, freedom, and purpose. And here's something powerful: the reason this habit separates millionaires is because so few people are willing to practice it. Everyone wants success, but not everyone wants the responsibility that comes with it. Everyone wants wealth, but not everyone wants the discipline required to build it. Everyone wants a better life, but not everyone wants to let go of their excuses. Excuses are the enemy of discipline. Excuses are the enemy of progress. Excuses are the enemy of your future. Millionaires reject excuses with brutal honesty. They know that every excuse has a cost. Every excuse delays growth. Every excuse keeps you stuck. They understand that the world doesn't reward intentions, it rewards execution. It rewards results. It rewards the people who do what needs to be done even when it's inconvenient. One of the greatest realizations you can ever have is this: you are not tired. You are undisciplined. You are not overwhelmed. You are unfocused. You are not unlucky. You are inconsistent. Most people think they need more time, but time isn't the problem. It's the lack of structured discipline that consumes their life. Millionaires don't have more time, they have better habits. They don't wait until they feel right. They discipline themselves to act whether they feel like it or not. And here's something deeper: discipline creates momentum, and momentum creates identity. Once you build enough momentum, you don't need to fight yourself anymore. You begin to crave progress. You begin to seek challenge. You begin to enjoy improvement. What once felt difficult eventually becomes natural. And that is when discipline turns into power. Most people never get to this stage because they quit too early. They don't stay consistent long enough for discipline to transform into momentum. They give up because results aren't immediate. They don't realize that success often grows in silence long before the world sees anything. Millionaires trust the invisible work. They trust the process even when progress isn't visible. They trust the journey even when the results are delayed. They know that consistency compounds, just like interest. At first, nothing seems to change. But suddenly, everything changes at once. The world calls it luck, but they know it was discipline stacking quietly, day after day. Imagine if you committed to one habit for a year, a habit tied to your goals, your purpose, your future. Even if you improved only one each day, you would transform in ways you can barely imagine. Your skills would improve. Your confidence would skyrocket. Your opportunities would expand. Your future would open. But most people never allow this transformation to happen because they rely on inspiration instead of routine. Millionaires don't wait for inspiration, they create it through action. Inspiration comes after action, not before. If you wait to feel ready, you'll wait forever. The greatest tragedy in life is not failure, it's potential wasted because someone was too afraid, too emotional, or too inconsistent to take action. This is where the average person and the millionaire finally part ways. The average person sees discipline as a burden. Millionaires see it as liberation. Discipline frees you from regret. It frees you from fear. It frees you from self-doubt. It frees you from the chaos of a life without structure. It frees you from the emotional roller coaster that controls most people. Discipline gives you power. Discipline gives you peace. Discipline gives you direction. Discipline gives you purpose. And once you experience the freedom that comes from unwavering discipline, you'll understand why this one habit separates millionaires from everyone else. There comes a point in every disciplined person's journey where something remarkable happens, something the average person never experiences. It's the moment when discipline stops feeling like a chore and starts feeling like clarity. It becomes the lens through which you see your life, your choices, and your future. It turns into a quiet confidence, a certainty that no matter what storms come, no matter what setbacks hit, no matter how unpredictable life becomes, you will keep moving forward. This is the point where millionaires separate from the rest of the world. Because at this stage, discipline isn't just something they practice, it becomes part of who they are. Most people spend their lives reacting to emotions, reacting to circumstances, reacting to stress. But millionaires live proactively. They take control of their days instead of letting their days control them. And the force that gives them this control is the habit of disciplined, consistent action. It's not glamorous. It doesn't always feel good. It doesn't always bring immediate rewards. But it builds something far more valuable: direction, stability, and long-term power. Look at anyone who has achieved something extraordinary. Their achievements weren't the result of a single decision, but the result of thousands of small decisions made consistently. Decisions that most people are too tired, too unmotivated, or too unfocused to make. While others were resting, they were building. While others were negotiating with their minds, they were executing. While others were making excuses, they were making progress. This is why discipline is rare. Because it demands honesty. It demands self-awareness. It demands that you hold yourself to a higher standard even when no one is watching. The truth is, millionaires succeed because they raise the bar on themselves long before they raise the bar on their results. They don't wait for success to act like successful people. They act like successful people first, and success eventually responds. Their habits shape their identity, and their identity shapes their destiny. But what about ordinary people? What about those who want to change but feel stuck? What about the ones who try, but can never seem to stay consistent? The answer is simple: they try to change their life with motivation instead of discipline. They try to change their circumstances without changing their habits. They try to build a new future while living the same patterns that created their current reality. And here's the truth millionaires know deeply: your future will not change until your habits change. Not your dreams. Not your intentions. Not your vision board. Not your affirmations. Your habits. Because your habits reflect who you truly are. They reveal what you value, what you prioritize, and what you consistently commit to. You don't decide your future. You decide your habits, and your habits decide your future. This is why the one habit that separates millionaires is so powerful, because it influences every other habit. When you develop the ability to show up regardless of your emotions, you unlock the ability to build every other skill, every other habit, every other area of your life. Discipline is the master key. It builds your business. It develops your skills. It strengthens your body. It expands your mind. It elevates your character. It sharpens your focus. It multiplies your time. It creates wealth. And most importantly, it transforms you into the version of yourself capable of achieving the future you dream about. Think about it: you can't build a business without showing up daily. You can't get fit without showing up daily. You can't master a skill without showing up daily. You can't save money without showing up daily. You can't improve your mind without showing up daily. You can't change your life without showing up daily. Consistency is the invisible force behind all success. And discipline is the engine that drives consistency. But there's a deeper layer, one that truly separates the wealthy from the average. Millionaires don't just use discipline to take action, they use discipline to avoid distraction. Because the world today is designed to steal your focus. Notifications, entertainment, scrolling, comparison, all engineered to swallow your attention and destroy your momentum. Most people lose years of their lives to distractions that give them nothing in return. Millionaires guard their focus like a treasure. They eliminate distractions that drain energy. They protect their mental environment. They understand that the greatest threat to success isn't failure, it's distraction disguised as entertainment, comfort, or convenience. This is discipline in its highest form, not just doing the right things, but avoiding the wrong things. Because every distraction has a cost. Every wasted hour delays your progress. Every lost day pushes your goals further away. Every moment you give to mindless habits is a moment stolen from your future self. Millionaires think differently. They ask themselves questions most people never ask. Does this behavior align with who I want to become? Will this action push me forward or pull me backward? Is this choice strengthening me or weakening me? And once you begin asking yourself these questions, you become more aware of the life you're building. You stop living on autopilot. You stop being a prisoner to your emotions. You stop drifting and start directing. That is the power of discipline. It gives you control over your life. It gives you control over your choices. It gives you control over your time. It gives you control over your destiny. And that control is what separates millionaires from everyone else. Most people let their environment shape them. Millionaires shape their environment. Most people let their emotions dictate their actions. Millionaires let their actions dictate their emotions. Most people react to life. Millionaires build their life. And the force that makes all of this possible is the single habit of showing up consistently, especially when you don't feel like it. There's a moment in every journey toward success where the truth becomes undeniable. Your life is a reflection of what you repeatedly do, not what you occasionally feel. The people who rise above the noise, the distractions, the chaos, and the excuses are the ones who hold themselves to a higher standard long before anyone else does. They don't wait for encouragement. They don't wait for inspiration. They don't wait for the right mood or the perfect moment. They move consistently, deliberately, unapologetically. And this is the moment where millionaire-level discipline reveals its greatest gift, identity transformation. Because discipline isn't just about doing the work. It's about becoming the kind of person who does the work. It's not about forcing yourself to act. It's about evolving into someone who naturally acts. It's not about fighting your old habits. It's about building new habits so strong that the old ones can't survive. This is why millionaire discipline is so powerful, it rewires your identity. Your identity rewires your behavior. And your behavior rewires your destiny. People often think millionaires are born different. They're not. But at some point in their lives, they made a decision that most people never make. They chose to stop negotiating with their feelings. They chose to stop waiting. They chose to stop believing the story that someday would magically arrive. Millionaires learn early that someday is not a day on the calendar. Someday is code for never. So they replace someday with now. Now is where momentum begins. Now is where purpose awakens. Now is where transformation starts. The habit of disciplined action, especially when emotions resist, is what turns ordinary people into unstoppable forces. Every act of discipline casts a vote for the future you want. Every disciplined decision whispers, "This is who I am becoming." And eventually, the votes add up. The identity forms. And one day you wake up and realize you've become the person you always hoped you could be. But it doesn't happen quickly. It doesn't happen easily. It doesn't happen comfortably. And because of that, most people don't make it far enough to witness this transformation. They chase inspiration instead of structure. They chase excitement instead of consistency. They chase motivation instead of mastery. And as a result, they live life in cycles of starting and stopping, of trying and quitting, of wanting and waiting. Discipline breaks the cycle. Discipline creates straight-line progress where others create loops. Discipline gives you the freedom to build a life most people never experience. Millionaires understand that every big goal is built out of thousands of small, unglamorous actions. They understand that the early phase of growth is uncomfortable, slow, and invisible. They understand that real progress often looks like nothing is happening until suddenly, everything happens at once. This is the power of compounding. Small actions multiplied by time create massive transformation. One disciplined day changes nothing. But 365 disciplined days change everything. And here's the part people often overlook: discipline is an act of love toward your future self. Every time you choose discipline, you are sending a message to your future self saying, "I'm building something for you. I'm preparing a life you will be proud of. I'm not abandoning you for momentary comfort." Most people betray their future for short-term pleasure. Millionaires sacrifice short-term pleasure to protect their future. This is why discipline separates them. This is why wealth follows them. This is why success gravitates toward them. Because discipline is more than a habit, it's a philosophy. A way of living. A way of thinking. A way of becoming. And once discipline becomes part of who you are, your entire life begins to shift. You wake up with clarity. You move with purpose. You think with intention. You act with precision. You dream with confidence. You build without hesitation. You stop fearing failure because discipline teaches you to learn. You stop fearing judgment because discipline gives you inner strength. You stop fearing uncertainty because discipline teaches you to adapt. And one day, without even realizing it, you'll look around and see a life that once felt impossible now becoming your reality. Not because you were gifted. Not because you were lucky. Not because the world picked you. But because you picked yourself every single day. That is the true habit that separates millionaires from everyone else. Not luck. Not timing. Not intelligence. But the simple, often overlooked, profoundly powerful habit of showing up with discipline long after the excitement has faded. Every day you act with discipline, you widen the gap between who you were and who you are becoming. And eventually, that gap becomes so large that your old life can no longer follow you. You outgrow it. You outgrow your excuses. You outgrow your fears. You outgrow your old identity. This is the real reward of discipline. You become someone capable of achieving the dreams you once only imagined. So if you want to change your life, if you want to build wealth, if you want to break generational cycles, if you want to become the strongest version of yourself, if you want to rise above the average and join the rare few, start with the one habit that has built every millionaire, every champion, every leader, every visionary. Show up. Every day. No matter how you feel. Because when you master that habit, there is no limit to what your life can become.